What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Around the Felder Week 15 predictions. We got a big slate of games this week. No more bye weeks. It's the home stretch of the regular season. Teams are vying for the playoffs or a top draft pick. And more importantly, it's week 1 of fantasy football playoffs. Joining me tonight is my co-host, Reagan Loescher. My good sir, how are you?
Dude, I'm doing good. I'm excited for the fantasy playoffs. Unfortunately, I only made it into the Mega Million in one lineup on Underdog, so that kind of hurt. I had 2 where I missed by less than 5 points. That really, really stinks.
Oh, man.
But hopefully I'm a rich co-host in a couple weeks, and I made it in most of my fantasy leagues. The one league I did miss it in, we are doing a very cool, fun alternative for the loser bracket. So, I want to tell you guys about that, and maybe you'll want to, install it in your loser bracket. So, what we decided is between the 6 teams that didn't make the playoffs is no quarterbacks, no defenses, no kickers. And then for the rest of the positions, whether it's your 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and however many flexes you do, you can pick up players, but they have to be projected under 5 points each. So for the 3 weeks of the loser bracket, we're going to do a cumulative score between the 6 losers. We're all going to throw in a little bit of money into the pot, and whoever has the most points after the 3-week span wins. And it's only players you're allowed to start projected under 5, and it's only wide receivers, running backs, and tight ends.
Wow. That's
Sound
very
fun though, right?
I've never heard of it. Yeah, I'm not used to being in the losers bracket, but if I ever was, that'd be a fun thing to do for sure. So how many leagues are you in again? 5 or 6?
7.
7. Okay, my bad.
Yeah, not all are for money, but yes.
How many that are for money did you make the playoffs? How many do you have a bye?
I made it at a 4 out of 6, and 2 out of the 4 that I made it in, I have a first round bye.
And I'm in both of those leagues, both of those dynasty leagues. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess the cupcake leagues I dominate, and then ones with more competition are tough for me.
Yeah. I made it in all 5. I got a first round bye in 2 of the 5, which is nice. Definitely feels good to have the feet kicked up for a couple of matchups and just letting it play out. But 3 big matchups, and it's always at this point where you have the playoffs, and I know my one matchup in a redraft league, the kids team is just loaded with players that I have on my other 2 teams, and one of them's a dynasty, which is probably my second most important league, maybe my first most important league, and it's it's always the worst when a player you're kind of going both ways in the playoffs.
Yeah, no, I definitely. That's kind of how I feel, so I'm not complaining having some bye weeks, but yeah. It's funny because in the one dynasty league we do together, we both ended up with the first round bye. Obviously, I was the number 1 overall seed back-to-back years, and I think the belt will be staying around my waist.
I have a very strong feeling that we will meet up in the championship. I don't know. You got the number 1 seed, but I outscored you by a good 300-400 as a 2 seed. I was the highest score.
Well, in fairness, I did just set a league record.
You did? What was that? 220?
224 points. The previous record was 204. So that is shattering it.
Wait, how'd you see does Sleeper have the
league
records?
History.
They do, huh?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, damn. Good for you. And that was big for me, that Monday night game, because I had Burrow, Chase, and CeeDee Lamb going, and I had to outscore Garrett by at least 13 points. And obviously Jamar Chase went absolutely nuclear once again. CeeDee Lamb had a good game, and so did Burrow. So I did get that bye. Very, very clutch.
Yeah, and that's a thing on Sleep. If you guys are in sleeper leagues, you can go look at the league history. I know it has, it shows you your overall record. So if you've been going multiple years, you can see your record from all the years combined, the amount of points you put up in the combined years. You can see the all-time high. It gives you the top 10 all-time high scores. So I think in the one league, 2 out of the top 10 scores were from me. One was last year, one was this year, so that's cool. And you can even see it we're in year 3, so it's scattered between the 3 years of the top week performances. Shows you the top 10 players all time. So I think Jamar Chase is now on that list 3 out of the 10 times in our league history, which is crazy.
But that is nuts.
It is.
And
cool.
I also love Sleeper's the best too, because I like when you click on a player, you can look at their history and go all the way back to see where they were drafted in the startup, and then all the trades they've been involved in. It's just Sleeper's the best. Yeah. Dynasty's the best. Not even close. All right, a little bit of news to touch on here. We'll start with the big one. Bill Belichick going to college football officially, the head coach of North Carolina. Now, my understanding is, from what I've read, that he gave him like a 400-page like Bible, and it's kind of his plan and what he wants to do. And he brought in Michael Lombardi, he's also done several podcasts, wrote books, former GM of the Browns. Terrible stint though, but he's been in the Patriots organization for many years with Bill Belichick, and he's going to be the general manager and handle a lot of the NIL kind of aspect of it, and I guess recruiting. Bill's recruiting pitch is, hey, I'm the greatest there has ever been.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want to come play for me? And almost treat it like, I don't want to say like the G League, because obviously it's like, I think college football is a higher level than that, but almost like a funnel to the NFL. Like Bill has so many plugs in the NFL, he knows what it takes. And it's like, hey, if you're a serious recruit and you want to play in the league, come to UNC. So this is a really, really interesting experiment for both Bill and for UNC. I love it for UNC taking this shot, right? Like, what do you have to lose? Like, yeah, you fire him after a couple years, you pay out the rest of his contract, whatever, but it could be insane for the school. I mean, we see what Deion's done for Colorado. Now, this won't be on the same level, but still, Bill Belichick should get this football program to a different level and get some more highly touted recruits. Really interesting fit here. I'm curious your thoughts.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, it was kind of surprising. I thought he would have tried to go to the NFL and just continue to cement his legacy. But you know what? Now he's going to build a college legacy. And for UNC, a program that's always been, or a school that's always been known for basketball, it'll be nice to be relevant for football. I mean, obviously they've had some good, talented guys drafted over the past couple of years. I mean, we've seen they had Drake May. I mean, obviously Mitchell Trubisky coming out was touted as one of the top guys, Sam Howell. So they have had some good quarterbacks in recent memory. So I do think a lot of players will want to go there just knowing, hey, this is a guy that's, been an NFL coach, won multiple Super Bowls, knows what it takes to make the league and play in this league for a long time. So I think that'll be, very attractive when it comes to the recruiting and stuff. And, I'm sure there'll be a lot of boosters that now want to give money towards the NIL, so they'll be able to pay more players too. Because, Bill Belichick's an attractive name, so the boosters are going to want to give the money to, put North Carolina on the football map.
100% agree on that point. Moving on, Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown, a little bit of drama for the Eagles, and they've been winning a shit ton of games, but, in Philly fashion, there's a little bit more going on in the locker room, and they say they're good amid the off-field drama. Although they've been winning a ton of games, A.J. Brown clearly frustrated with his role on the team, saying that the issue is passing. Clearly, that means the quarterback, Jalen Hurts, and they have had a historically good relationship. Hurts, I mean, Brown's his go-to guy. There's no doubt about it. But you brought up that stat where Hurts is just not throwing the ball a ton.
Yeah,
since,
it's a Kellen Moore thing.
More than 30 times. But, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Barkley already set the Eagles' single-season rushing record, has a chance to set the single-season rushing record, and they're winning games. A.J. Brown, I don't love it. It's a little selfish. I also don't like going to the media with it. I think you keep that in-house. I think you talk to Kellen Moore. You talk to Nick Sirianni. You talk to Jalen Hurts as men in the locker room, and you figure it out. I don't like airing your dirty laundry like this out in public, especially for a team like the Eagles that are in a prime position to make a Super Bowl run, to be honest with you. Like, they're right there for a chance to get that number one seed if Detroit loses some games, and they got Buffalo. Detroit's got Buffalo this week. Like, they got a difficult schedule, so it's right there. Very strange for me the way A.J. Brown's handling it. What do you think?
I think he's being a baby. It comes down to Kellen Moore. He's the one calling the plays. Jalen Hurts half the time throwing the ball almost less than 20 times. Like last week, he only threw the ball 21 times. Jalen Hurts still had 4 catches. So, when there's not a lot of passes being thrown, you're not going to see a lot of action. And I feel like the fact that they're winning games should mean everything. And it just kind of shows that, like, I get it. Like, you want to be involved more, but at the end of the day, like, it's working, so you can't really complain. I get it if they're losing games. So it's a little head scratching, but it's also like, I don't know. You hate to see people airing the dirty laundry. So I really don't know what'll happen, but hopefully they can put a nip in it and move on, because this is a team that could definitely win the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, and they have a difficult matchup this week going against Pittsburgh's defense. But I'm curious, do you think A.J. Brown has a big game? The last time he was frustrated with his role, he went off. Like, that was the play where he caught the ball. I forgot who he was against, but in double coverage, and he caught the touchdown and pointed at both guys. You know what I'm talking about? That play where he's like, boom, boom. That was the last time he was frustrated and had a big game. Do you see that happening again this week against Pittsburgh?
It's going to be tough because Pittsburgh's obviously one of the best defenses, and I think just because he's crying, it doesn't mean they have to appease him. They're winning games. If I was going to put some money on it, I would lean on this. I would lean on the side of him scoring a touchdown and going over in yards. So if I am to take any props, I'm definitely taking the overs and him to score. But at the end of the day, they don't have to do anything to solve it because the style they're playing right now is working. So just because he's crying does not mean you have to change anything.
I agree. I am debating AJ Brown and big dogs this week, so it's up in the air. I got to read the board, but just playing the history here. If AJ Brown's frustrated, maybe they try to give him the ball, but the Steelers not a great matchup for it. All right, that wraps up our news, Drock. What do we got for questions, brother?
What's up, boys? Colin.
Oh, yo.
It's nice to see you back.
Yes, sir.
All right. We're going to start off with DJ Caleb Dean, my boy. First question of the night. What game do you think will be the biggest blowout this week?
Easy.
Ooh.
Baltimore over the Giants. Are you kidding me? It's my Giants, too. The Ravens are coming off a bye. The Giants just went back to Tommy DeVito. What more do you need? I'm not even going to list the injuries the Giants have. Tyler Nubin, their starting safety rookie, just got put on IR. Their offensive line is depleted. No Dexter Lawrence. So many guys are beat up. And now you're going back to DeVito and Drew Lock's in a walking boot. Like, I don't see how the Giants score 14 points against Baltimore. And before the bye, Lamar Jackson said how pissed off he was and he can't wait for the Giants. He's been thinking about this for 2 weeks. And the Giants have the least amount of wins in football. Does not matter. I think Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry run all over this Giants defense and absolutely demolish them. I think it's a 30-point win for Baltimore.
I'm going to go with the Commanders over the Saints. I mean, the Saints obviously just lost Derek Carr. They have so many injuries right now. I know there's a chance Olave plays, but if he doesn't play, it's going to be even harder. They're throwing out Jake Haener to start this week, or it could be Rattler as well. So who knows who's going to be playing this week. Either way, it's going to be ugly. I think this game could get out of hand quick. I know it is in New Orleans, and obviously, they still do have a legit defense. But I think at the end of the day, Washington off the bye, getting some guys healthy, they're just going to steamroll here. It'll be one of those games that we saw early in the year where they're putting up 30-plus handedly, and I think they are another team that could end up winning by 30 points here on the road.
That's great. Common theme coming off a bye. Also, the Saints' run defense since week 4 has been one of the worst in football. Brian Robinson should have a day here. Brian Robinson will be in Big Dogs parlay for sure.
Yeah, and the Saints are just so banged up right now. They just seem to be losing guys every single week.
Yeah, their offense is just brutal. Like, there's no way they can keep up with the Commanders' offense. There's no way.
Yeah. I mean, if Olave plays, it'll help. But if no Olave, I mean, you're relying on Jake Haener. And, if you're the Commanders, okay, you want to throw the ball to Alvin Kamara? We'll take him out of the game and take our chances with MBS and Juwan Johnson and Foster Moreau. I mean, it's not like they got a whole lot of talent on that offense right now.
No, I can't believe that spread is only 7.5. That's crazy.
I think it's because it's giving respect to the Saints defense at home. They do play a lot better at home versus the road.
That's a good point.
All right, next question. Reagan, since you almost called Rico going for 150 rushing, is there another running back who could go for 150 this week? And you guys actually didn't answer this last time, but what receiver will also go for 150 this week?
Yeah, so Rico, that sucked. I mean, he had 131. He was freaking close. And I think he would have done it because what killed us was that fluky ass punt block. Then the Bengals go down and score, and it's like, damn, the game's over. Where if the Cowboys take over, they're on the 50-yard line, they're probably giving Rico the ball a couple times, and he's going to get to 140, maybe 145. And if it goes into overtime, so I feel like we kind of got robbed there, Caleb. I know you were telling me you got him at 138 at plus 1,200, so that is a brutal beat, sir.
That is a brutal beat. It did help me though. I didn't actually take Burrow 400 plus, but I said Burrow would be the guy I'd take. I did have 300 plus. He did get to 377 because of that block. So we got close. We got close.
Yeah, a couple things we got close on. I'm going to go with Chuba Hubbard here, though, at home against the Cowboys. I mean, we just saw Chase Brown while he wasn't going crazy on the ground just for all purpose. He was just, he was close to 150 scrimmage yards against his defense. Obviously, the Panthers have been piss hot right now. Chuba Hubbard has been one of the best running backs in football. He finally cracked 1,000 yards. Miles Sanders is on the IR. Jonathan Brooks, unfortunately, is on the IR. So there's not a whole lot of competition. We saw last week, he got 28 touches. So I think this is a game that's going to be a positive game script. I think they'll be ahead in this game. They're actually 3-point favorites. So when's the last time the Panthers were a favorite? Another crazy thing. But Chuba Hubbard seems primed to me to go for over 150 in this game.
I'm going to go with Josh Jacobs against the Seattle Seahawks. Jacobs has been balling recently, and the Seahawks haven't been as good at home as they have been in years past. And I know Leonard Williams recently was playing out of his mind, but that Seahawks defense still, to me, isn't certainly not dominant. And with the way the Packers have transformed their offense to being this run heavy, I think Josh Jacobs has a chance if he breaks off a couple long ones to get to 150. And then obviously super chalky Derrick Henry, like that should definitely hit.
What about a receiver?
Yeah, so for the receivers, I like DJ Moore with Caleb Williams on Monday Night Football. I think he could definitely do it. I just find it hard to believe that the Bears will go like a fourth, fifth game straight of just doing nothing in the first half and then figuring it out in the second half. I think they will make adjustments. This is a fat spread in favor of Minnesota. Obviously, they've been dominating a lot, so I still ultimately do think they get it done, but I think this game is tight throughout it where the Bears are just slightly behind trailing. You'll be able to chip away a little bit here and there. So I think DJ Moore could have a big game on Monday Night Football.
I'm going to go with Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm hoping that the Bills-Lions game is an absolute shootout. It's the highest total in the slate at 53.5. We saw the Bills against the Rams last week. I mean, that was a hell of a game. So if we see a similar type of game script here, and it's in Detroit, in the Dome, it's not in Buffalo, I think Amon-Ra St. Brown, although I'm going against him in 2 playoff matchups this week, so I hope it doesn't happen, but I could see Amon-Ra doing it against Buffalo, especially after a slower week for his standards.
Yeah, that's all the questions tonight. But I do have a question, not a football related question. Hot topic in the world of sports right now. Reagan, I heard your opinion on the Juan Soto trade. The Juan Soto trade and deal, but I do want to hear from you, Colin.
Yeah, this is really difficult because I bought his goddamn jersey, because I went to 27 games, because our dumbasses flew out to LA for game 1 of the World Series, because he was so important to our team, because the best moment that I could remember as a Yankees fan in my life was when he hit that home run to send us to the World Series right where I'm sitting right now. So it's really tough. But on the flip side of that coin, it's essentially going to be an $805 million deal because they're certainly going to pick up the extra 10 years that they elevated money after 5 years. Bro, how in the world is a player worth $800 million, right? Like, how is he making that much more than Shohei Ohtani, who's a better hitter and also can pitch? So from that perspective, I'm not super pissed from an organizational standpoint that they didn't get the deal done for $800 million and they didn't match that, but it still is brutal that Juan Soto left. And this is just like a brutal 6 months being a Giants and Yankees fan, where Barkley goes to the Eagles, Soto goes to the Mets after they lose in the World Series. Really, really tough times for us New York sports fans.
You got anything you want to add?
I'm happy about Max Fried. That's a good signing. That's already a positive sign. And go get me the Oscar Hernandez. I love that guy, even though, he kind of fucked on us in the playoffs. But regardless, dude won the home run derby, made me and Garrett some money. So that was hype. So, he'll always have a spot in my heart. So bring him home. Bring him home to the Bronx.
Yeah, bring him home and put him in number 22, huh?
Yeah. No, honestly, it's not the worst,
I just saw Kyle Tucker took the Astros out of his bio, so maybe something happened tonight. I'd love to see him.
I'd love that. I'd love that even more so, Kyle Tucker. I also got the 22 jersey without a name, so I guess I'm rocking Robbie Cano these days.
Yeah.
Who also left the Yankees, but it's fine. It's totally fine. I don't
or it
mind.
could be some rando they pull up at some point. I hope it's some random ass bullpen guy that's just like super mid, and they're just like, oh, he got his jersey. Sure.
Yeah, I'm his biggest fan, dude,
Yeah.
All right, before we dive into these games, please make sure wherever you're listening to like and subscribe. The boys really appreciate it. Now let's get into Thursday night football. Rams at Niners. The Rams at 7-6. The Niners at 6-7. The spread, Niners -3 with a 49.5 point total. Where'd you land on this one, my friends?
I landed on the Niners. I fully think they're going to dominate. I loved what I saw from the Bears. I like it even more if Garendo plays because, it looked like it didn't even look. He was way more efficient than Patrick Taylor. And some of that could be because Patrick Taylor kind of came in when they were dominating and the Bears were just selling out to run commit, knowing that that's what they were going to do. But Garendo looked good. So, it's almost like they're not skipping a beat at the running back position. Kittle got his. I think they're going to make a conscious effort to get Debo more involved. The past 4 weeks.
Frustrated.
Yeah, he's frustrated. And me and Dave were talking about it the other day. Like the past 4 games, he hasn't even broken 25 receiving yards. So whatever his line is for receiving, I think that's a pretty good pick right there. I'd like to see them get Pearsall more involved, but at the end of the day, they have a good defense. They're at home. This is a must-win game. So if they can just limit that high-powered Rams offense, I think they can get it done here. So I feel pretty confident in the 49ers and a must-win game. I mean, honestly, it's a must-win for both teams because, if you lose, you're falling back in the wild card spot. And, if Seattle goes out and beats Green Bay this week, it's really bad for both teams. So you just got to keep winning in this division,
Debo's at 50. It's not too bad.
No, I like that. That's pretty low.
Yeah, Juwan Jennings has almost become the number 1 wide receiver in Brandon Ayuk's absence. And it's not like Ayuk was lighting the world on fire when he was playing this season.
Yeah, I mean, right now, like Kittle's the number 1 target, and then Jennings, and like Debo has become the number 3 option. Honestly, the number 4 because the running backs still utilized way more too. So he's like the 4th option on this offense right now.
Yeah, I was definitely impressed with what I saw from Garendo. He was known as that guy who's got the speed, 4.3 speed, but he ran the ball really well. It's a mild foot sprain, so hoping that he's going to be good to go. I do have him on one team. Actually, no, both teams I have him, I have buys. So rest up, Garendo. Rest up.
Yeah, if he doesn't play, I mean, Patrick Taylor, regardless of, the inefficiency, is a must play because they're going to commit to Patrick Taylor. If Izzy Adebataconda's out there and you want to take a shot on him, but man, it's tough to be taking those risks in the playoffs. So, but if Garendo doesn't play and you need a spot start, I mean, Taylor should be fine. He's going to get a lot of touches.
For sure. I actually landed on the Rams in this one. Just as soon as they got healthy, they just started looking really damn good. And I'm kind of leaning on what they did last year where they got really hot down the stretch in must-win scenarios. And I'm going to keep it rolling here with that thought process. I don't see how any team is going to slow down Puka Nacua. He just looks unbelievable right now. Like top 5 receiver in the league, unbelievable. And Kyron Williams is going to continue to do his thing. I envision him scoring in this one as well. Really, it's just I like the trajectory of the Rams more than I do the Niners, even though they're on the road. This is certainly a ballsy pick. Like, I'm not super confident in it, but I think Stafford understands they got a chance to do some damage here, get into the playoffs. He's been there. He's done that. And they're going to fall on his veteran leadership, Sean McVay's experience. Again, they did it last year. Why not again? So I'm going to go with the Rams to get it done here, and hopefully another high-scoring game on primetime.
Confident enough to make it the big bet?
No, not because I'm not confident enough, because I won't be able to watch, and I want it to be on a game that I can watch. I have a work cocktail holiday party where it's like I just can't watch, and it's fun watching the game when we got the punishment because it's like
fair.
It's way better than even having a bet on it,
Yeah, we can pick one later. I mean, what we're going to do this week is we're going to do the Costco guys punishment. Garrett suggested this, so you got to do that. You got to, first off, you got to act, you do a little acting with it. And, you got the double chocolate cookie and the fucking chicken bake. But then you got to do it under 2 minutes. So you got to do it timed. So you just got to mukbang it in front of a bunch of people in Costco too. So, you're going to have, that's half the punishment is just doing it in the middle of Costco, just scarfing it down with an audience out there.
What do I have to scarf down?
A chicken bake and a double chunk chocolate cookie. Yeah, for Big Justice and Big AJ. I
haven't seen the actual Costco videos. I got in late on the wave where it's just we bring the boom just the whole time.
They started because of the double chunk chocolate cookie, which is a massive chocolate cookie that you can get there, and then the chicken bake. So you just got to eat them all in 2 or 3 minutes. We'll figure out a time, but just the fact that you're just going to be doing that too, with everyone checking out right by the food court, seeing you try to scarf it down as fast as you can with someone filming you. A bunch of people are going to be like, "What are you doing?" That's going to be half the thing is having people just come over and just staring at you and asking what you're doing.
Yeah, so it's the food part, but also the public embarrassment part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the food aspect isn't terrible. It's a cookie and a chicken bake, but it's just it's a trending thing, but it's also just people are going to be watching you. Why the hell is this guy eating it as fast as he can?
Yeah, no, that's good. I like it.
And I think whatever line we decide on, same thing. If it pushes, Dave,
Yeah, dude, that was awesome. The push last week. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what the fuck? Colin said it too. Like at half, he's like, "Oh, it's looking."
I'm
Really
like,
good.
I don't
It's
know.
looking
This
good
is
right
looking
now."
on track for their chance to be a push. The teams keep scoring.
Bro, I wonder what the odds would have been on that for the Lions to win. Like, can you bet on an exact
You
win
could
by
do
margin?
margins.
Yeah.
You could do 1-3, 3-6, 6.
So you can't do
10.
3 exactly. I would have loved to see like exactly 3 points, like what that would be. Surprised they don't have that, honestly.
Yeah, would have been worth a sprinkle. All right, let's move on. The Chiefs at 12-1 at the Cleveland Browns, sitting at 3-10. The Chiefs are only a 4.5-point favorite here with the over/under 43.5. This has to be Vegas saying, "All right, Kansas City, you keep winning, but we know you're terrible against the spread, so it's not that big of a total." Jameis Winston against this very stout Chiefs defense. How do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, I think the Browns cover and the Chiefs win. I mean, I'm just going to keep going with the
If
formula.
it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly. But honestly, like, I don't care what the defense is. Jameis, to me, is matchup proof where, yeah, he'll have his turnovers, but he's going to push the ball downfield. He's going to put up points for this offense, and the Browns are going to be in games just because of the risks he takes. He's going to lose him a hell of a lot of games, but he's definitely going to win and keep him in games. So, I love all the Browns options for fantasy this week. Like, Jerry Jeudy is like a must play. Like, his second half resurgence with Jameis Winston is like insane. Like I believe he's a top 10 fantasy wide receiver now with how good he's been playing.
Yeah,
so
I believe
he's a must start at this point. And Jameis is even, I don't care what defense he's going against. Like, he's going to push the ball down the field. And hey, if they get behind, he's still going to push the ball downfield and get some garbage time work. So, if you needed to stream a quarterback or you've been streaming quarterbacks all year, like Jameis is a fine play to me in this matchup.
I'm going to go with the Chiefs to win and actually cover. This is just too low for me, and I think the Chiefs' defense is too opportunistic to let Jameis get away with those turnovers and let him hang around. Certainly helps that the Browns are at home here and not in Arrowhead, but, I mean, I'm just not going to bet against the champs in this one. I think 4.5 is a reasonable number where they can win by a touchdown and take care of business. Now, I'm curious your thoughts. This isn't the sexiest matchup for fantasy purposes. Are you tempering expectations for anyone on the Chiefs offense against Cleveland on the road? Like Pacheco, are you just plug and play Pacheco no matter what? D-Hop, are you starting him? Kelsey, obviously, you're auto playing, but those other weapons.
Yeah, I mean, Mahomes, I don't think you can. I wouldn't play him. Like, if you continue to play him, that's risky. I mean, I guess at this point, like, if you're in the playoffs and you've been playing him all year, sure, it's Patrick Mahomes. He could go off any week, but I mean, he's been a disappointment the past 2 years. I mean, Kelsey's an auto start. I would play Hopkins. I think he's matchup proof. At the end of the day, like, he's the most established wide receiver. He still gets a lot of targets. He's pushing close to, if not double digits every week with Mahomes. So I'd play him. I mean, Pacheco, you're probably in a spot where, you're flexing him, but I wouldn't be happy starting him as one of my top 2 RBs, but I think
you're betting on a touchdown there, I think.
Yeah, but he did out carry Hunt 14-5. So, I mean, I think it is going to like a 70-30 split there. Like, Hunt still will be involved. He did earn that right to be involved. And I don't think they want to just, slam Pacheco with the full workload. And even Pirine, like, he's still involved on third down. So, I mean, Pacheco's more like 60-30-10. But, all it takes is a touchdown to fall in, and the Chiefs are going to have opportunities to score. So I would play him as like a flex, but I wouldn't be happy as my running back, like one of my top 2 running backs.
Yeah, and if you're still starting Xavier Worthy, please don't. I would not start Xavier Worthy. This certainly a tough matchup. You don't want to be having that in the playoffs. I actually dropped him in my redraft league. It's just, the volume is not there for the Rook.
Well, and I would honestly consider that a nuke at this point. There are players that like you're better off just dropping them than keeping on your bench, hoping somebody else picks them up and is like, oh, like Kyle Pitts is another guy. Like, drop him, let someone else pick him up and be like, it's Kyle Pitts. He's a freak athlete. You never know. Dude just puts up zeros like it's his job.
That's facts. Moving on, the Bengals at 5-8 at the Tennessee Titans, sitting at 3-10. The Bengals a 5-point favorite on the road. The over/under 46.5. Big win for the Bengals against the Dallas Cowboys just on Monday nights. Now, how big is it? I don't know. I mean, they're 5-8. They're most. I don't know if they're mathematically eliminated, but I mean, they're gonna need a lot of help to get in.
They are,
and this is kind of a game. Not one that I'm necessarily tuning into unless I got fantasy implications. But do you believe the Bengals get another one in the win column?
This one's tough, but I ended up going with the Titans, man. I think Callahan will be getting his revenge. Like, don't forget,
revenge game.
He was there. Yeah, I love the revenge. I mean, even though it's not really a revenge, the guy just got like a promotion, got more money with a bigger role in another team. But, he does know the Bengals. So, and the fact that they are at home, and, I just don't think the Bengals are a very good team. I do think, Tony Pollard is another guy that we talked about before, like a guy that could go for 150. Tony Pollard's been running the ball hard. I mean, he is fully taking over that backfield. Like Spears does get mixed in, but like Pollard's a guy, he's going to get the lion's share. So I wouldn't be shocked if he pushes that. I still do like Tennessee's defense. So I think they can do enough to limit that offense, where I think the Bengals defense, like, Cooper Rush was able to move the ball down the field a lot, and they struggled a lot to stop Rico Dowdle, letting him have his best game in his career of 131. So I do ultimately think the Titans get a close upset victory here, but I think this one actually is low scoring, which is surprising for a Bengals game.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Bengals to win, but the Titans to cover. This isn't really a good matchup for Cincinnati, where they just want to put the ball in Joe Burrow's hands all day and let him rock. And the Titans secondary is really damn good. So in that sense, not great. But then again, Burrow and Chase have been so goddamn good. And Higgins has been good too. Like in the Dallas game, like don't think it like whatever. That's just one game. But since he's gotten back, he's been playing really well. And it's the point where Burrow's like, I'd be really disappointed if T. Higgins is not back. And it seems like him, T, and Chase have a really good relationship. I agree with you. Like the Titans and Levis has been playing a little bit better recently, right? So I think behind Tony Pollard and Levis making some plays, and at home, the Titans are certainly going to keep this one close. Bengals with that defense, they don't have blowout potential in my mind. So, but then again, for me, it's Burrow versus Levis. I'm going to take Joe Burrow, who, if you reverse the record 8-5, he's up there in the MVP conversation. He's not number one above Josh Allen right now, but he's certainly up in that top 5. So I'm going to go with the better quarterback here, despite it being on the road, but I don't trust him enough to cover the 5 with the state of their defense and the way Tennessee's offense has looked a little bit better. And I also think Calvin Ridley in this one is going to have a big game.
Interesting.
Commanders at 8-5 at the 5-8 Saints. Reagan touched on this one earlier. He sees a blowout. The spread is 7.5, 43.5 point total. I'm on your side here, man. I see another blowout, but tell me why.
Yeah, man. Like I highlighted earlier, I mean, it's just the Saints have so many freaking injuries. Washington's getting healthy. They're getting healthy at the right time. They're coming off of a bye. They need this win. I mean, the Saints technically are alive. I mean, they're only 2 games back in the division, but it's just a tough spot, and you talked about it too. Like they've been struggling against the run mightily. So I think Brian Robinson, another guy that could easily go for 150 in this matchup as well. Austin Eckler's on IR. So, he should be primed to get close to 20 carries in this game. But yeah, I just think like, even if the Saints are able to put up some points early, ultimately, I just don't think they have the firepower right now on offense to hang with the Commanders, where the Commanders, I mean, we've seen this team put up 40 points in games this year.
100%. I mean, I couldn't have said it any better myself. The Commanders have playoff aspirations. They're sitting right there looking pretty for a potential wild card spot. Got to continue to win and take care of business against teams that you need to beat. And this Saints team with no Derek Carr is a team that you have to beat. And Dan Quinn understands that. Jaden Daniels, I'm sure he understands that. The Commanders, I mean, in the offseason, a lot of the signings they made, like Bobby Wagner, Austin Eckler, like those are interesting. Those are some older players, but they have veteran leadership in that locker room that has made playoff pushes. And I think they're going to be locked in for this game. They're not going to take the Saints lightly. And I think they just blow the brakes off of them. I could see Terry McLaurin continuing his hot streak. I think Jaden does his thing on the ground. But yes, Brian Robinson is the guy I'm targeting in this game. Certainly, I think he scores a touchdown here, and the Commanders, it's just too much. I think it'd be another game like the game they had a couple weeks ago against Tennessee, where it's like, holy shit, you look up, it's 21-0 the first quarter.
Yeah. And I mean, that game was freaking crazy. But I agree with you. Like this has like sneaky, like over by halftime, or not even sneaky. Like it's very, very possible this game's over by halftime.
Yes, and I know Zach, Drock, and I have been really dabbling in the teaser game, like a 3-leg teaser, and you kind of, 11.5 points. So it's like minus 150 the odds, but this is a game where I'd love to tease that Commanders line. And even if you don't buy 11.5, you do like 7.5 and get them down to Commanders money line. I don't see how they lose this game with the Saints backup quarterback. Yeah,
no, very true.
Baltimore at 8-5, coming off a bye at the New York Giants, 2-11, also 0-7 at home. This looks like it's going to be 0-8 at home, and they could become the first team in NFL history to go 0-9 at home if they don't beat the Colts later in the year. Baltimore is a 16.5 point favorite. The line jumped 2 more points once Tommy DeVito got named the starting quarterback this week. So Vegas does not respect cutlets. It is a 42.5 point total, which is reflecting probably the Ravens total. Giants team total is probably like 9.5 or some bullshit like that. But
which I would love to take. I would totally, whatever their team total is, I'm taking it. I love it.
I mean, the Ravens defense hasn't been as stout this year as in years past.
Dude, fluky plays can happen so easily. Dave, can you check on that quick? What the Giants team total is? I would love to know what that is, because if it's like less than 10, man, like the fluky stuff happens all the time. Like a defensive touchdown could happen at any point. I'm taking the Giants to cover the 16 here. I don't care. That's a ton of points for a team at home. The Ravens, while they're sick on offense, like defensively, a lot of teams have been able to move the ball on them. So
in the secondary, yes.
Yeah, and I think the Giants can do enough to backdoor cover here. I mean, the Giants still got guys. Hey, they still got guys that get paid to play, just like the Ravens. They get paid to play. These guys, it's their livelihood. So now I know that's some, that bullshit saying, but I honestly do think the Giants can cover it. And like, that's just too many points. That's just too many points. I don't care. I'll take it. And, for those teasers, like, let's put them in a teaser. I mean, would you take the Giants plus 27.5, or you would have no confidence doing that?
No, dude, I ain't taking that shit. No way I'm taking that. Tommy DeVito just looks lost out there. Like, he can't push the ball downfield. And it's like Tracy's been very important for this offense, but you really can't run the ball in Baltimore. Like, you got to throw the ball against this team. Despite all the big names they have in the secondary, just I don't know if it's their scheme that they got going on right now, but they're just not putting the pieces together on the back end. And do I trust Tommy DeVito to get it done? No. The Giants haven't had a passing touchdown in like 5 games.
10 points.
It is 10. It is 10.
It's like 10 on the money?
Yeah, it's 10 on the money.
What is that, minus?
Even odds.
Wow. You could buy half a point. You could buy half a point and be
totally buy half a point and take 9.5. Are you kidding me? That's nothing, dude. For an NFL team, 9.5 points.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised it's 35-6. So I'm not taking that shit.
I don't care, dude. I love that. Are you kidding? Like, I wouldn't take the under. Like, you would like.
Also, the top 6 guys to score are all Ravens, and that, with being said, is the 7th of Tracy being at plus 200.
Yeah, I mean, the Giants just haven't had a passing touchdown in over a month, and that's with Daniel Jones, Drew Lock, and Tommy DeVito. That's pretty terrible. So, like, I just can't have faith in this offense right now. And the way MetLife Stadium looked on Sunday, I wouldn't be surprised if there's more Ravens fans and Giants fans in the stand. So I am going to take the Ravens to cover the 16.5 and just blow the shit out of my Giants. And we're 1 inch closer to the first overall pick.
One thing I will say, like, just from a betting mind, after hearing Tracy being plus 200, I would rather just take the Giants to score 2 touchdowns than bet on any Giants player for the anytime. I mean, the odds are probably going to be pretty damn close. Like, you probably get them to score twice at like plus 170 versus playing the roulette on any Giants player to score.
Yeah, because when you take a Giants score, it's like, I don't think, like, they're not going to score 3 touchdowns. So you're really like, okay, then you're trying to pinpoint who it's going to be. And then you're like, oh shit, well, it was Daniel Bellinger. And it's like, you know what I mean? And just a fluky, like a little play action, a little dump off in the flat when you're inside the 5 and he scores. Like, it's just really difficult with the state of this offense to pinpoint one guy to score. Let's move on to the Cowboys at 5-8, at the Carolina Panthers at 3-10. Panthers are a 3-point favorite. How about that? Your Panthers are favored here, Reagan, with a 43.5 point total here. Dallas seems defeated after that loss against Cincinnati. Micah Parsons walking off the field, not shaking anyone's hands. He's like, I'm fucking out of here. Vibes are not high. The backup quarterback, Cooper Rush, against Bryce Young, who's had a bit of a resurgence, despite the Carolina offensive line being absolutely terrible. I saw some clips of Bryce Young. As soon as he gets the ball, there's a guy in his face, and he's scrambling around, and he's making some plays. Really, really happy for Bryce Young. Excited for his development. This is a game where, against this Dallas defense, I think he can continue to keep up that hot stretch. I already know you're on the Panthers, Reagan.
I am, dude. I mean, it's kind of hard to take victory laps because they still only have 3 wins. But, Bryce Young being, really, really turning it around, it just puts a smile on my face. But, yeah, I'm going to rock with the boys. Come on. I ain't hopping off ship now that Vegas is rocking with us. And I feel like a lot of people, like I would guess a lot of money is going to come in on Dallas here. I feel like a lot of people are still doubting the Panthers, even with them keeping it close. But I don't know, man. They've been playing great football. Chuba Hubbard has been the catalyst for this offense, so I think he'll be heavily involved. Obviously I said it earlier. I think he could go for 150. So, he's going to win a lot of people championships because odds are he's on a lot of those playoff team rosters, because if you did pick him up late or off of waivers, like the production he's done this year has put you in a great spot. And Thielen too is another guy that you can flex. Like, he's been Bryce's favorite target. I know last week he had, double-digit targets, over 100 receiving yards. So I would play him with full confidence. But I like what I'm seeing from it. And, on the Dallas side of things, it was such a deflating loss. It seems like the locker room's lost. Like, they could get eliminated this week even with a win. So, I just think they're going to roll over here. And, the younger team who's, still hungry and just wants to get wins versus the veteran team in Dallas who's just like, we should have been a playoff team, and this is where we are. They're just going to roll over. I could see the Panthers winning this one by 10 to 20 points even. I think this could be a sneaky blowout.
A sneaky blowout. The Panthers with a 20-point win over the Cowboys in Week 15. Who would have thought that?
Me, this
before
guy.
the season.
This guy.
Nah, that's great.
Me,
That's a
guy.
bold take. I love it. I am going to go with the Cowboys here, and you're 100% right. The public is going to be all over Dallas as underdogs. There's no doubt about it in my mind. And that's not even because they're America's team and like the most popular team. Even if they weren't, I think the money would pour in on Dallas here. At the end of the day, they're still a more talented roster, like pretty substantially. CeeDee Lamb is still going to get his no matter what. Rico's been playing great, and this Carolina run defense is atrocious. It's like bottom 3 in the league. And then also Carolina's other weakness on the other side of the ball is that offensive line and protecting Bryce Young. Micah Parsons is fucking coming, dude. I think Micah Parsons has at least two sacks in this game. I think one of them could be a strip sack on Bryce Young. I mean, if Micah Parsons hits 5'10" Bryce Young, it's going to be a problem, and it's certainly going to happen. So that's what gave me the lean towards Dallas here, is the star power that they have and the way that they can impact the game with the Panthers' weaknesses. But I would not be surprised if they do just roll it over here and just call it a fucking season. Your Jets at 3-10, who are 1-6 on the road. Jeez. At the Jacksonville Jaguars, also 3-10. No Trevor Lawrence in this one. Gives the Jets another game in which they're favored by 3.5 with a 40.5 point total here. Man, I said I wasn't going to take the Jets for the rest of the season, but, with a backup quarterback and Mac Jones at the helm, I'm very tempted to take the Jets. Did you take your Jets?
No, I took the Jaguars here, man, because, what has been the biggest storyline is when the Jets are favored, they lose. We don't win games as the favorite. So why would we start now? And everything's pointing in our direction. Like, yeah, our roster's way better right now. But, that locker room's lost. Everyone's given up. Nobody wants to be there anymore. Where at least the Jaguars, like, they have so many injuries and stuff. Like, they're not, their season was kind of a failure for a while now. But I feel like they're just missing so many guys where they got a lot of young, hungry guys. Where us, it's like we're still playing Rodgers. We still got a lot of those veterans out there. We're going to roll over here. It might be close. It might look like we're going to win. And then in classic Chick fashion, like the Jaguars will somehow, be led by Mac Jones with 2 minutes left on the clock, and then they'll score, and then, Rodgers will get sacked by Josh Allen Hines to lose the game. So, yeah.
Storybook ending.
Storybook ending. Yeah.
Now, that's how every chapter's ended, what it feels like for the Jets so far this season. So I don't blame you. I'm actually going to take the Jets here. I don't love it. I really don't love it.
On paper, we should kill them. On paper, we should kill them.
On paper, they should kill them. I am going to take the Jets to even cover the 3.5. Dude, they're just way too good of a team on paper to lose to this Jaguars team, which is just lacking talent, particularly on the back end of that defense, right? Like Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams should theoretically have a monster day. Now, that's up to Aaron Rodgers. And if they're on the same page, that's up to the offensive line protecting them, because the one thing the Jags do have is a really nice pass rushing tandem in Josh Allen Hines and Trayvon Walker. Also, I'm really, really, really praying that Breece Hall gets back in the lineup here, although I have my doubts. I don't think he's going to play, but I have him in 2 fantasy playoff matchups this week, and without him, slim pickings on my bench.
Can you get Isaiah Davis or Braylon Allen?
Braylon Allen, I cannot.
Can you get Isaiah Davis?
I might be able to get Isaiah Davis.
I would pick him up. I think there's a very good chance they shut him down for the year.
They
still think it's
said
possible.
they don't think they're going to, but then again, it's like if he's dealing with a knee and you're 3-10, like what's the goddamn point of your young star back?
Yeah,
You
they
know
don't
what I
even
mean?
have to put him on the IR to shut up. You know what I mean? Like they could be like, yeah, we're not going to put him on the IR and the chance he can go, but like they're also not going to put him in if he's not 100%. But I think right now it doesn't matter about making like to open up a roster spot. Like the season's over, so even if he could play week 18 and he's fully good to go, like because at this point you would be, if you put him on the IR, he's done for the season.
Yeah, but then again, if you put him on IR, you could almost like reward a player that's on like the practice squad that you think's been like grinding their ass off all season. They kind of
Which
get
they still could
checked.
do.
They could do. That's like the only way that even if Brees Hall is inactive, like there's no way they're going to push him. But regardless, I'm not taking Mac Jones here. No goddamn way. I'm going to rely on Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson to have a good day here. I actually like Garrett Wilson a lot to potentially score in this one. I got to check out the odds potentially in Big Dogs parlay, even though this point total is low.
Yeah, I mean the Jaguars defense is not good, so the Jets will have a couple red zone opportunities. Will
they cash in though? That is the question. I've seen a lot of red zone field goals from that team this year, and I know you've seen more. The Dolphins are at the Texans. Miami 6-7. Houston 8-5. Houston's a 3-point favorite with a 46.5 point total here. This one was tough for me, man, because the Dolphins, I kind of like where they're going, and the Houston really hasn't looked as good as we anticipated. I mean, if they didn't have Joe Mixon, I'm curious what the record would be because he's been an engine for that offense, as Stroud has kind of had a bit of a sophomore slump here. Which side did you end up taking?
Yeah, I actually feel very confident in Miami in the way they're playing right now. Like Tua coming back, offense looks great. Tyreek's now fully back, it seems. I mean, 80 in the touchdown against Green Bay, then over 100 last week in a touchdown against the Jets. So he seems like he's back. Waddle as well, past 2 weeks had some good games. Jonnu Smith, he continues to be relevant. A-Chain looks good. So the offense is humming on full cylinders right now. And, the defense, while it's not elite or anything, they still got some good pass rushes there. And, the Texans' offensive line is very bad. So, I just feel like the Texans are a very fraudulent team. They just are in a very bad division. And, it comes back down to it, like, they got killed by the Jets, and, like, we've been so bad. And that was, like, one of the teams that we were just able to kind of manhandle. So, I don't know. I feel like the Dolphins, like, just really can have their way with Houston here. And, even though it's on the road here for the Dolphins, like, you're not going on the road to a cold city. It's going to be a very warm game. So, being on the road with the weather has no impact to me on this one. So I think the Dolphins get this done easily, keep the season alive, keep winning, trying to get that spot from the Broncos.
I'm going to take Houston here. I actually wouldn't mind making this our big bet of the week if you were down for it, unless we disagree on a primetime game. And you prefer to do that. I don't know off the top of my head if we disagree on a primetime game. I know in the Sunday night I got Green Bay.
I would do it for this one because all the other prime times. I mean, I'm not like, no, because we both have Bears spread, and I'm not going to go Raiders Falcons with you. That game's too big of a coin flip.
That's.
I'll do this one. Yeah, I will do this one. But give
this
your
is a fun game.
I'm down to do it.
Yeah, this is a fun game. I think this is probably the best game on the 1:00 slate here. So yeah. I like it. I'm going to go with Houston because of Joe Mixon. Not an ideal matchup for the passing game here. Now, Nico Collins has been just an absolute stud if he's been active. But, Jalen Ramsey and that back end of that defense for Miami does kind of scare me. So I think it's going to be a big Joe Mixon game at home here. I could see him scoring twice, maybe 3 times. And for Miami, I do really love their offense recently, particularly for fantasy. And I think this game does have certainly shootout potential, and I'm hoping we get to see that. I do also need Tyreek Hill bad, and I don't have any Texans in fantasy that I need this week, and I have all Dolphins, so it kind of sucks that I'm picking the Texans, but I just think they're the better team. They're at home. I'm going to rock with them by a field goal spread, and I think it's going to be through Joe Mixon how they get it done. And I also like the way Derek Stingley has stepped up this year, and I think he can not negate Tyreek Hill. I think he can negate Jalen Waddle, but I think he could limit them enough to where it slows down that Miami offense. Just enough.
All right.
Just enough.
We shall see.
Now we're at the 4:00 slate. Indianapolis at 6-7 at the 8-5 Denver Broncos. Off a bye, I believe. The Broncos are off a bye, correct?
They are off a bye. That is correct. Both teams are.
Indianapolis as well.
Yeah.
Denver, 4-point favorite here. The over-under 44.5. Tough game here. Tough game. Really depends on what Anthony Richardson you're going to get. Now, which Anthony Richardson do you think we're going to get?
I think we're going to get the one that's going to get the win. I think the Colts need this more than the Broncos. I mean, obviously both teams need it. I mean, this is massive when it comes to both teams' playoff chances. I mean, the Broncos really get into like a clinching spot with a win here, where the Colts, then they close the gap within one, and then they have the head-to-head. So if it comes down to a tiebreaker, guess what, Colts? You're getting in over the Broncos. So I like the Colts run game here. I think that they're going to make a conscious effort in the bye week to figure out how to most efficiently use Jonathan Taylor, but also how do you get a guy like Michael Pittman more involved? So I think the bye week is going to be good for this Colts offense. A smart mind like Shane Steichen, I think we'll be able to make some key adjustments. And defensively, I really do. The Colts do got some good players on the interior. So, and Denver really hasn't been able to run the ball efficiently this year. So, it's going to be a lot of pressure on Bo Nix to just continue to light up some of these defenses to keep Denver in the game until they can get the run game going. I just think teams are going to adjust and make life hell for Bo Nix.
Yeah, I mean, this is another tough one for me, man. I'm going to go with the Colts to cover, but the Broncos to win. I was diving into Anthony Richardson's game logs, and he really struggled against kind of the more premier defenses. I think Denver's secondary is going to cause a lot of problems for him. And for the Colts to be in this, it's going to be through Jonathan Taylor, as you mentioned, and also Richardson making plays with his legs. Then again, I just believe in Bo Nix a lot. I really like what I see from him, and Cortland Sutton has been playing lights out the past 6 weeks. I think Cortland Sutton is another guy very much in contention for Big Dogs Parlay. They're also playing at home here, out in Denver. That's pretty difficult. I do like how Anthony Richardson was saying his first day he had off during the bye week, like, hey, coach, people telling me to take off, but what do you got for Denver? I really like that from Richardson. I'm really excited for his future, but in this matchup on the road, outdoors in Denver, with the way he's looked against strong defenses and secondaries this year, I have to take the Denver Broncos to win. But 4 points is a lot here. I don't believe in the Broncos that much, so I will take the Colts to cover.
Okay, all right.
The game of the week, the Buffalo Bills at 10-3 at the Detroit Lions, 12-1. Lions are a 2.5 point favorite with a 53.5 point total here. Dude, this game should be absolutely fireworks. I'm hoping it's another Bills-Rams game like we saw last week where both teams are scoring 40+. That'd be awesome. That'd be great. Could really cause some drama on the late slate and some fantasy matchups in the playoffs. It's a tough one for me because my heart wants to say Detroit, but my head's telling me to take Buffalo.
Yeah,
what's your gut telling
Detroit
you?
Here. I actually feel pretty confident in Detroit here. I think they get it done. I think they just out physical Buffalo here. Everyone wants to act like, Josh Allen is this physical freak. But, right now, Buffalo's defense is very bad. And I know Detroit's defense hasn't been great either, but, Detroit's got a lot of injuries. But I don't know. I just feel like Detroit's offense is so damn physical that they're just going to have their way with Buffalo's defense. I think it's going to be very similar to last week where, it's going to be a lot on Josh Allen and that offense to, keep up with the Detroit offense. And at the end of the day, obviously Josh Allen is better than Jared Goff, but Jared Goff has a lot more weapons to utilize there. So I just find it hard to believe that, if it's a shootout again, I just think it's going to be tough on Josh Allen to keep up with this high-powered Lions defense or Lions offense. So I went with the Lions at home here. If it was in Buffalo, it would be a different story. But with it being in Detroit, I feel pretty confident in the Lions. And I think this is another smash play for the over. So it does make me a little weary to take the under here just because, everybody is going to be taking the over. And why would you not? I mean, great weather, in a dome, two high-powered offenses.
Why does the weather matter if you're in a dome?
No, I'm saying, fair. The weather doesn't matter.
Great weather. You're like one,
it's
it's Detroit. It's not great weather in Detroit this time of year. Two, it's a goddamn dome.
It's a dome, so it never matters. But that's what I'm saying. It's in a dome. You're not in Buffalo in the snow.
70 and clear. Perfect football weather.
Oh man, yeah. So I everything says take the under, so you should probably take the under because everybody and their mother's going to be betting on the over.
I'm going to take the Bills. Now, we should have done this as the big bet of the week, but I have so many Lions in fantasy. I don't want to do it. But yeah, I'm going to go with Buffalo here. I 100% agree. This Bills defense is not going to stop the Lions defense. I just think this is an MVP moment for Josh Allen in this game. I think he goes total Superman, runs all over that Detroit defense, makes big plays, rolls to the sideline a couple times when you're like, oh, what is he doing? He's looking downfield, and Josh Allen fashion just launches a ball, and they make enough big plays to hang in it. And at the end of the game, I think Josh Allen is going to lead a drive at the end to get a field goal for Buffalo to win. There's not too much to say about these teams are both dominant teams. They're both two of the top 4 teams in football. I don't think you can argue that. It should be an absolutely amazing game. I wouldn't be surprised if the Lions won. I'm just going to go with Josh Allen here. I think he has his MVP moment here. I'm betting on the storyline.
I respect that. Let's have some fun, huh?
Hell yeah. Pittsburgh, 10-3 at the Eagles, 11-2. Man, that's another great game in the 4:00 slate. Philly's a 5.5-point favorite, though, with a 41.5-point total. Definitely going to see more fireworks in the Bills-Lions game. If you're a fan that prefers some nitty-gritty football, 3 yards in a cloud of dust, some hard hitting, I think this game is more up your alley. Najee Harris, Saquon Barkley, maybe A.J. Brown gets involved and stops pitching. We will see. But where'd you end up with this one?
Yeah, I'm taking the Eagles here, man. With all the bitching, all that stuff, it doesn't matter. The defenses look great. Pittsburgh offense, picks and chooses when they want to show up, but I think it's going to be a tough task against, a not very good defense, while Pittsburgh's a not very good offense. So basically it came down to both teams have great defenses, but one team has an elite offense. So I'm rocking with that team. It's at home for Philly. I know it will be a lot of Steelers fans in attendance, but at the end of the day here, the Eagles are just a whole nother level than Pittsburgh. And, that's a team that's primed to make the Super Bowl. So I think the Eagles continue here, get a win. And, if Buffalo is, able to upset Detroit, then, hey, you're tied for that 1 seed right now, even though obviously Detroit would retain it with the conference record head to head. But yeah, I think this is a must win here. So I think they get it done here.
I'm going to go with the Eagles to win, Pittsburgh to cover. I think 5.5 is a lot. And, I'm certainly worried if George Pickens is not going to be back in the lineup here. But I'm going to go with Mr. Unlimited to keep him in this ball game. I still think that Barkley's going to go for over 100 against his vaunted Steelers defense. But I also think that Jalen Hurts is going to struggle. Makes me a little weary of the A.J. Brown selection. I'll probably stay away from it just because I don't love this matchup for Hurts. But I think it's going to be a grinded out game. The clock's going to be chewing much of the game. It's going to be low scoring where I think the Steelers can do enough to cover the 5.5 with their defense. And even though, this Eagles offense with Saquon Barkley has been balling out. The defense, I'm really impressed with how they've developed throughout this year compared to last year.
Oh, Vic's got the boys playing well.
Yeah, absolutely. Particularly in the secondary, man. So no George Pickens. I'm definitely worried about the 5.5. And it's not something that I would take. If George Pickens is back in the lineup, I think this offense has just enough firepower to cover. However, at home, I still think the Eagles get it done.
Yeah, fair.
New England at 3-10 at the Arizona Cardinals, 6-7. Arizona 6-point favorite with a 45.5 total. Not the sexiest game on this slate, but it's a fun one, certainly, with Drake May. Kyler Murray's been struggling a little bit recently in the second half, like he always does when Call of Duty releases. So do his struggles continue here?
No, I don't. He might struggle in this one, but, I did end up having the Patriots covering here because, 6 is a lot, and the Cardinals obviously haven't looked as dominant as they were. The Patriots coming off the bye, with a young quarterback and a lot of young players. I feel like they were able to get a lot done in that week off. Really, try to get more stuff that Drake May likes, feels comfortable with to continue to with his development. So I do feel confident in the Patriots covering here, but ultimately, the Cardinals just need this one bad. So I do think they'll get it done. I just think, with them struggling recently, it's hard to have a lot of confidence in them. And, Drake May's at least showing that, he's capable to move the ball. He can put the Patriots in a position to be in games. He's been in a lot of games so far as a starter. So, obviously they haven't all turned out Patriots, but he's definitely put them in positions to compete. So I will take there. And I'm hoping, big Trey McBride game here because, he is 11 catches back of the lead now that Jamar went off. But if he fucking didn't miss that game, I'd have a chance. But it is what it is.
It's still a great call. You can't predict injuries. You know what I mean? It's still a great call.
It's missing one game with a concussion. It's killer. But yeah. Just got that 60-1 ticket. It was hoping. But Jamar's doing Jamar things.
Where do we think the odds for McBride to be top 5 in receptions but not score a single goddamn touchdown?
Yeah, right. I mean, that's the crazy thing. I mean, he's behind 13 catches now. Damn it. It's over. It's over.
I'm gonna go with Arizona to win and cover here. I really like Drake May. I really like his future in this league. I don't like his offense, and even with Kyler Murray struggling, doesn't matter to me because I think James Conner is gonna have a huge game here. James Conner, historically, when it gets to fantasy playoffs, balls the fuck out. I'm going to bank on that. Big James Conner game. I think he scores twice. James Conner, he's definitely a big dogs parlay. I think I've named like 6 guys, so I really got to narrow it down here. I really like the slate here.
Juicy dogs parlay?
Yeah, a juicy dog. But James Conner will be in it. Cardinals are at home. They're just a much better team. They actually have something to play for here, where New England's just kind of getting Drake May his reps. So I'm going to go with the team that has more to play for. They'll be more motivated, and they have more veteran talent. Tampa Bay 7-6 at the 8-5 Chargers. Chargers a 3-point favorite. The over/under 45.5. Another great game on the 4:00 slate. I love that there's 5 games on the 4:00 slate. Like, enough of the 3 games, and one of them's always just a dud, like a game that's terrible, and you're like stuck watching a couple games. 5 games, I love it. And this is another really good.
It gives you more parlay flexibility too. Like after your the 1 o'clock, you don't hit shit. Then you can make up some new stuff.
Yeah, you're sitting there at 3:30. You're like, time to crap. But there's 3 games and I hate them. But I'm not just gonna sit here.
Exactly.
Dave and I do that way too much. But here we go. Who do you got? Chargers 3-point favorite.
Yeah, I'm taking the Chargers here. I mean, wait. Are there 4? Oh, there are 5. Oh no, wait. Are the Colts Broncos in the 4 o'clock window? Or are they the 1 o'clock? Now that I think about it,
they're in the 4 o'clock.
They are okay. Because I was like, wait, Green Bay, Seattle, Sunday night. Okay, yeah. So I ended up going with the Chargers in this one. Ultimately, to me, they're the better team than Tampa Bay right now. Tampa Bay really struggled with Vegas last week. I know, at the end of the day, they ended up winning handedly, but Vegas was in that going into the 4th quarter, and Baker gave them multiple opportunities, but he's been turning over the ball a lot, and if he continues to, make some mistakes, a veteran team like the Chargers with a very good defense is going to make them pay for that. So, and guess what? The Chargers are struggling to run the ball right now, and the one thing Tampa Bay does good is stop the run. So, okay, let Justin Herbert keep airing it out. He'll light you up, and I think Ladd will be back in this, so that'll be nice. Losing Will Dissly does hurt that passing attack, but they still got some other guys, and Josh Palmer has been proven that he's should have been involved earlier. I know DJ Chark is getting back healthy, so maybe they can get him more involved. And Quentin Johnston, hopefully this is a week where the drops aren't a thing. So we'll see, though.
Yeah, that's the thing with Quentin Johnston.
Chargers.
It's like if he doesn't drop the ball, it's like, Quentin Johnston can make some big plays. Because that was always the thing coming out of TCU. It was like he's not the most polished route runner, doesn't have the best hands, but if he can get the ball in his hands, he can make some big plays, and that's kind of what we've seen. Similar trajectory. I would love for Ladd McConkey to be back because I'm also taking the Chargers. And I think if he's back, Ladd goes for over 100 yards in this one. Yeah, I mean, they lost J.K. Dobbins. Run game has not been the same. Don't care. Justin Herbert's playing better ball right now than Baker. And I love Baker, but this is just not a good matchup for him, especially with his turnover problems recently. I mean, let's be honest. Todd Bowles' seat was a little hot about a month ago. It's starting to heat up. There were murmurs from Jeremy Fowler, Dan Graziano. They mentioned there were murmurs that he could be out of a job. A couple wins, saving it. But let's be honest, he's beat the Raiders. I'm really not that impressed with that. And it was a bit of a dogfight. So I'm going to go with the Jim Harbaugh-led team here with the better quarterback and Justin Herbert at home and a defense that I also think is much better.
Let's go Chargers. That's all.
Sunday night.
Let's go Chargers.
Let's go. Bolt them. Sunday Night Football, Green Bay at 9-4 at the 8-5 Seattle Seahawks. It's another fun game. I like this matchup. A lot of playoff implications here. Packers 3-point favorites on the road, however, with a 45.5 point total. I know you're a Seahawks hater. So tell me why you're taking the
I'm
Packers.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. Seahawks keep winning, man. They keep figuring out ways, but it almost seems like it's just some bad quarterback play they're going against. Like last week, it just seemed like Kyler Murray made some boneheaded mistakes at the quarterback, threw a couple picks, and then Seattle was just in good positions to, take that lead and run away with it. But I do got to give them some respect. But at the end of the day, I do think Green Bay is just, a better team. I think they're going to really utilize Josh Jacobs in this one. I know you talked about it earlier. You were pretty confident in him having a big week, and I do agree with you on that sentiment. I mean, they got to figure out how to get Jaden Reed more involved because, one target for 0 yards ain't exactly the recipe for them winning. But I do like their defense, and this is an offense that is good, but not Detroit level of good. So I think the defense will look much better this week. So I think this is a good game for Green Bay here, but you got to win this. I mean, you're still not out of the division race, so go get a win here. It's Detroit probably will seal the division sooner than later, but you got to keep treating it that way. But also, you'd rather get the 6 or 7 seed, or you'd rather get the 6 seed than the 7 seed. I think at this point, you don't want to be playing Philly and Philly, or if you get the 6 seed, you're going to get to either play Seattle, Tampa Bay, Atlanta, 40, like one of those teams in the West or the North. So you want to get that 6 seed. So you got to at least clinch it up. You're probably not catching the Vikings either. So this is massive for them because whoever has to get if Washington gets that 7, Washington will win this week. So they actually would be tied with Green Bay. And I'm not sure how the head-to-heads work out in the conference record and stuff, but nobody wants that 7 seed. You do not want to be going to Philly or Detroit round 1.
That's a great point. And, players aren't thinking about that. Coaches aren't bringing that up, but it's certainly in the coach's office, something that they're thinking about. It's like, hey, we got to take care of business because you don't want to go at Philly or Detroit. Not at all. I'm also going to take the Packers here. I don't see Zach Charbonnet having as big of a game as he had last week. This Green Bay front against that Seattle offensive line is a strength for the Packers for damn sure. And I think the Packers offensive line with Josh Jacobs going against that Seattle front is also a strength for the Packers. So I think they win this game in the trenches in Seattle, cold weather at night. Packers are used to that shit. So give me the Packers. I just hope Jordan Love doesn't make some boneheaded turnovers. If he can take care of business, I am starting him in one fantasy matchup. I don't love it, but I got to put faith in Jordan Love because he does have the ability to just light up a defense. And
I like that.
We have seen Seattle's defense get lit up. So I'm going to rock with it, but give me the Packers. There's a better team here.
Yeah, no, I think this could easily turn into a shootout.
I hope it does. That'd be a lot of fun. All right, Monday Night Football. We got 2 games, except this time one starts at 8, one starts at 8:30 instead of 8 and 9. So
makes no sense. Makes
7:30 and 8:30. Yeah, it's terrible.
Makes
we got
no
Bears.
Hey, 2 wheel spins.
2 wheel spins. We got Bears Vikings first, and none of these games are necessarily sexy, but we'll take what we can get. The 4-9 Bears, who are 0-6 on the road at the Minnesota Vikings, 11-2. 6-1 at home, and Darnold is just dealing right now. Vikings a 7-point favorite, a 43.5 total. Who do you got?
I actually got the Bears getting an upset win on the road here. This is I feel like this is such a look ahead game from Minnesota because they got Green Bay and Detroit down the pipeline. They're still only a game back at Detroit for the division, which I feel like a lot of people don't realize. But at the end of the day, I mean, this is the division matchup, so I love, that you're going to give me 7 points. But I do like the Bears defense still. I just, you'd really like to see Caleb, look better. And also they have Seattle too. So they have 3, teams that are probably going to be playoff teams coming up. So I just feel like Minnesota is going to be really looking ahead of the Bears who have struggled. But I like Caleb here. I like DJ Moore here. I know he's going to get blitzed a lot, so he's going to have to get the ball out quick here, and they're going to have to run the ball and stuff, set up some stuff. So, another sneaky one, DeAndre Swift receiving yards. I could see them setting up some screen plays where, he sneaks out when they're bringing the pressure and little pop right over the defense, catch, run. So I can see him going, pushing 50 receiving yards. So whatever his receiving line is, that will be in my Monday night parlay. But yeah, I think this will be interesting. But give me the Bears money line. Let's get crazy with it.
I like where your head's at. I'm going to take the Bears to cover. However, I think the Vikings still get the win. Vibes are just low in Chicago, and seeing that 0-6 on the road just really scares me. But it is a divisional matchup. 7 points is a lot. And Caleb, although last week wasn't his best week, he has been playing much better as of late. So I'm going to bank on him in the passing game, doing enough. You just don't know if you're going to get a DJ Moore game or a Keenan Allen game. Really disappointed with Rome Odunze this year and his involvement in the offense, but I mean, look at Jackson Smith and Jigba this year with no more Shane Waldron. So I could see a similar trajectory next year for Rome Odunze. Unfortunately, that won't matter in this game on the road at Minnesota. Just a much better team. I'm going to take the hot hand in Sam Darnold, the hot hand of Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, looking really good as well recently.
Yes.
And this Vikings defense, I do like the Bears defense, but this Vikings defense has just been a little bit better this year. So better team. I'm gonna take the Vikings, but 7 points is certainly a lot for a divisional matchup. And Caleb Williams still has the ability to put a lot of points on the board.
That he does.
Final game on the slate: the Atlanta Falcons at 6-7 at the 2-11 Las Vegas Raiders. Falcons only a 4-point favorites. I'm assuming that's because of Kirk Cousins' struggles,
and the Desmond Ridder revenge game.
And it's Desmond Ridder revenge game. God damn it. You make me want to take the Raiders.
I'm taking the Raiders, bro.
Not only because revenge game, I'm rooting for this hard for my New York Giants. 4-point spread, 44.5 total. The Raiders. Tell me why.
Well, I do have the Falcons winning ultimately. I think it's going to be a similar ending to what we saw with the Chiefs Raiders, where it's coming down to the wire. It's a close game. The script writers like Desmond Ridder might get it done. They're really sticking to his old team, and then he gets like a bad pick or a bad fumble at the end, and they lose by like a field goal or something, or like 2 points whether they're driving to get Daniel Carlson in range. I think they'll keep it close, especially with how bad Kirk Cousins has looked. Even though I do think this is a good bounce back spot, but it's hard to have any faith in them. So I would think they should win because the Raiders are bad, but it's like hard to see this being a blowout. So, I could see the Raiders even, keeping it close and it coming down to the wire, missing maybe the field goal or, turning it over to not get the opportunity, or even getting like a backdoor cover late where, the Falcons are up 10 and the Raiders get a garbage time touchdown to bring it to win in 3, and then kicking the onside kick. And Sincere McCormick is another guy like on the Raiders. I said, go pick him up. Pierce came out today and said, he's the guy. He's earned the job. Alexander Mattison will be the backup. So I really do hope you listened to me 2 weeks ago when I said, hey, this guy's getting the touches. He's been way more efficient than any other running back there. So I think this guy could be a sneaky league winner. So I think, hey, that's a guy like he could end up with 20 fantasy points this week. Like this is a good matchup for the Raiders. Like he could fall in once or twice and rush for 100 yards. And you're like, whoa, like, I just picked this guy up on waivers as a shot. And he got me 24 points in the first round of the playoffs. Whoa.
Yeah, that was a great call out of you. That's why I claimed him in CFFL and beat you out on the waivers.
Yeah. It's also like, it's Dynasty. That one hurt. I know because you probably didn't know did you even know who he was before I said anything?
No, I didn't see it. I didn't see it. No.
Oh man, I was on that guy from the start. I even said it to Garrett. Like I was going to start him in the Kansas City game when he had like 50 or 60 rushing yards. I'm like, should I pick him up? I'm like, you know what? He was 5 for 33 the week prior. Like he was way more efficient than Amir Abdullah. So I had him on my radar and I'm like, fuck, I should have picked him up. And then I got him in every league but that one after hyping him up at the Kansas City game. And then last week he looked great, breaking off some big runs. And it's kind of bullshit. They got a PI to the 1, and instead of giving him a chance for his first NFL touchdown, they do a QB sneak on the 1 on first down. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Ah, fuck you, Pierce. Come on.
Because then you'd be really excited about him if he had like instead of getting like 90 all-purpose yards last week, 90 and a touchdown, like 15 points. But yeah, I really would say if he's still out there on your leagues, go pick him up.
Absolutely, especially in Dynasty, it's worth a stash at this point because the Raiders have so many holes in that team where I don't see them investing a high pick in a running back. So
yeah, so he could be the guy next year for sure.
I'm going to take the Falcons here. I know Kirk Cousins had his primetime woes, but he's balled out on primetime a couple times this year, and this is a perfect get-right game against the bottom feeders of the league, the Raiders, along with my Giants. We don't talk about it. So I am going to take the Falcons here. Now, if they lose this game, I fully expect Michael Penix to be starting next week, to be honest with you. If they're 6-8, I mean, why not go to Penix, right? Because you're paying Kirk Cousins a lot of money? I mean, what do you think? Do you think if they lose to the Raiders here, they go to Michael Penix? They did come out and say this week that they're sticking to their plan. Kirk Cousins has earned the right to right the ship. But desperate times, things can change in the NFL very quickly. Would you go to Penix? At least like for the last 3 games to be like, you know what? Let's see what the kid's got. Like, I guess it depends on what happens with Tampa Bay.
Yeah,
you know
that's
what I mean? If Tampa Bay wins and you're 2 games back at Tampa Bay, it's like you might as well roll the dice.
I think you wait until you're like mathematically eliminated. I think you stay with Cousins. That was the plan all along. Like And I think that, they invested way too much to punt the tires on him. We've seen Kirk Cousins be so good. So, and it's putting a lot on Michael Penix. Like, you also risk hurting his development, just throwing him into a situation like that where like Cousins has been struggling, but it's like, you need to play at an elite level because we want to make the playoffs. Like, you're really throwing him into the wolves as well. So do you want to risk his development, off of in my opinion, they're going to be a first round exit anyway. Like, I don't see this team beating Minnesota in the first round, or if it's somehow Green Bay, but it does seem like it's at this point Minnesota, or the off chance it could still be Detroit too. Like, there's still a world where Minnesota hops Detroit. Like, they're only a game back and they play each other. So there still is a world where it's, you're playing Detroit in the first round. So
Jesus.
I don't know.
It's like, congrats, you won your division. Now you have to play Detroit.
There still is a world though. Like, it's still very possible.
No, certainly. But yeah, I think this is a get right. I don't think that's going to happen. I think this is a get right game for Kirk Cousins. He throws for 300. Drake London has a monster game. Bijan has another big game, and Atlanta takes care of business. They move to 7-7. We're both projecting Tampa Bay to lose, and that division gets very interesting at the top.
Yeah, I'm hoping they lose just because I like it when it's interesting, and it'll be interesting because I believe week 18, there's some good games like the Lions. I mean, I'm actually surprised the NFL hasn't already flexed it to the Sunday night game, but the Lions and Vikings play each other because I know they wait to see what the best one is. But unless like they've already clinched and it's like the Lions already won the divisions and the Vikings are locked into the 5, maybe they'll pick another there, but could be a different one that's a win and get in game. Like last year, it was a win and get in for the Texans and Colts, loser go home game, which was very fun to watch.
Absolutely.
But I mean, looking at the standings right now, I mean, Detroit is up 1 game on Minnesota. In the division right now, Detroit's 4-0, where Minnesota's, 2-1. The only difference is if the Lions, it could come down to them having the same record and the same division record as well. So right now, if Detroit is to lose to Buffalo this week, it's actually not the end of the world in terms of, losing that 1 seed to Philly or even losing the division because, right now Minnesota's 2 losses and Philly's 2 losses are to NFC teams where, Detroit, if they were to get a second loss, it would be to an AFC team. Therefore, they would only have 1 conference loss. So, really, this is the game to lose if you are Detroit. And obviously, you don't want to lose any games. But if there is 1 game on the schedule left that you can afford to lose, it's this one because, you're still essentially a game up on both teams with a loss this week.
Great breakdown there, friends. Love that.
Yeah, I hope that makes sense to some of you people. But, but it also, if they lose, I'm kind of hoping they lose. I would love it if we got a week 18 game with a 14-2 Minnesota Vikings and a 14-2 Detroit Lions. Winner gets the 1 seed in the first round bye. Loser gets gets the 5 seed. Oh my god!
The loser's probably gonna have to run the gauntlet on the road, most likely, while the winner gets a fucking bye and home field advantage to the Super Bowl. That would be crazy. I guarantee we've never seen anything like that.
No, and I mean both teams got some tough games left. I mean, I talked about Minnesota. They got the Bears, but then they got Seattle, Green Bay, and Detroit, where Detroit's got the Bills, the Bears, the Niners, and the Vikings. So both teams got some gauntlets left. So it is still either team's division. Like I think a lot of people are already handing over that division to the Lions, but you got to give Minnesota some respect. I'm actually going to look right now. I'm curious, what their odds are to win the division right now, because it might be worth a sprinkle. I don't think they can win the Super Bowl. We did talk about that. I said I thought their ceiling was kind of, the NFC Championship game. But division winner, they're plus 500 to win the division. I don't hate that at all. Hate that at all. I think there's some value in that because, if Detroit loses 1 and Minnesota wins out, that's just you're getting them at plus 500, and you can hedge if you want, but you essentially have a plus 500 ticket on the Week 18 game.
Well, it's almost like you expect Minnesota to take care of business with Chicago, but it's almost like the time to take that would be now with Detroit having Buffalo, because if Detroit beats but then again, if Detroit beats Buffalo, it'll get a lot juicier, but it's also this is then an opportunity for them to lose against another juggernaut team. So it's really how confident you are in Detroit taking care of business this week in particular.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. It's definitely interesting to say the very least.
All right, guys, that wraps up our Week 15 predictions. I would argue that we're in the best stretch of the year for football. We got the college football playoffs coming up. It's the home stretch in the NFL season. We got fantasy playoffs and then real NFL playoffs. It's just a great time for football fans. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Please make sure you like and subscribe. Reagan, you got any last words?
I don't. Just get ready. Fantasy playoffs. Let's advance. Let's advance. So we want to listen next week to more insight, and the crew necks. Obviously, keep buying those. And yeah, I know we're gonna. We were talking about doing a college football bracket breakdown next week. The first game opens up Friday night with Notre Dame and Indiana, so that'll be a fun one. So we'll try to get that next week as well.
I didn't advance in any of my 3 leagues, so hopefully I can pick up some good knowledge from you guys in the off season on fantasy pickups and matchups and whatnot. And what Rock learned this fantasy year was what a taxi squad is. So he's happy he got one thing under his belt this year.
Now my question to you is: you say you're in 3 leagues. How come you never asked questions about your other leagues? You're like, I don't want to trade with you guys in the league I'm in with you, but I'm not in with you in the other 2 leagues.
That is true.
I would have been happy to help you out in your other leagues. Are they redraft?
Yeah, sit here and listen to all these podcasts. We talk about it.
I know.
You never try to pick our brains at all.
I guarantee this motherfucker's probably never put a waiver claim in any of his leagues.
No, yes. I have put waiver claims in, but it's like defenses and kickers. Like it's about it. Like I'm not picking up guys that I think could have potential based off of their matchup predictions. But I don't know, man. I got to start listening to Round Without more.
Yeah, I'm putting in a little bit more effort. I'm always on the waivers Tuesday mornings. I'm looking. I'm scrounging. Who can I take?
It's always like I'm like super excited to start the fantasy year, and then I like paying attention so much 3 or 4 weeks in, and then my team like gets injured, and I'm just like, fuck this.
Yeah, you're more of a fantasy baseball guy.
I'm not that either, bro. We know I'm like notoriously bad at fantasy. I'm so
bad. Bro went 1-20-1 last year. He started out 1-0-1 and then lost 20 straight in fantasy baseball, which
it just sucks. So this time
something else.
Just sucks.
Guy who played college baseball went to how many Yankees games this year? It's crazy.
27, 28. Yeah.
There you go. Good pod, boys. Goodbye.